Hi guys, this is going to be the tutorial that's going to show you how to do this Winsome Stitch. I saw this stitch somewhere else and it didn't have a name for it, so I just had to make one up. And it's very, very pretty and it's very simple to do. I would say this is maybe just maybe beginner advanced. It's really, really simple. I used 2 different size hooks, as I usually do, 6mm hook, size J hook, just to make the beginning chain. And then most of the scarf is made with a 5mm hook or a size H hook. The ply yarn that I used was 4-ply worsted weight yarn. It's acrylic, for 4-ply for the US and 10-ply for Australia. And if you're curious about this color that I used here, it's by Elise Baltic Designs. It's from their Super Lana series, and the color is 3050 and the lot number is 499120. And I used 1 skein to make this scarf, but it may be a bit short, so I would recommend whatever yarn that you grab, that you get at least 2 skeins of it. I'm going to be showing you just starting from the chain, but as you can see, the end kind of looks a little bit different. So once you learn the stitch and you're ready to start, if you're going to make it a scarf or whatever you're making, you may want to start with a row of single crochets. It may make it a little easier. And the end of this scarf, I ended with a row of single crochets, but it's up to you, whatever you're deciding to make out of this stitch. The multiples of this stitch is 7 plus 2. So let's go ahead and grab our 6mm hook. I mean, it's you don't have to. You can start off with the 5mm hook. Just make sure you chain loosely. So go ahead and grab those items and we'll get started. Okay, I went ahead and chained 16. Every 7 stitches, I told you the multiples of the stitch is 7 plus 2. Every 7 stitches will create 1 of these. So I made 7 and 7, which gave me 14, and then I did my plus 2. So I have a total of 16 stitches, and I'll have 2 puff stitches on one row and then 1 and 2 halves on the next. And it's kind of a thinner scarf. If you want to make it another wide, just I thought it was too wide whenever I had an extra one, but it's up to you. So I went ahead and I chained 16. So to begin, you want to single crochet in the 2nd chain from the hook. And then you want to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then you're going to yarn over and insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then you want to repeat this 2 more times. Yarn over, go back into the same stitch, pull up a loop. You've got 5 loops on your hook. Do this 1 more time. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, pull up a loop. 2, 4, 6, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over, and you want to pull through only 6 out of the 7 loops. You want to leave that last loop on your hook. So I'm yarning over and only pulling through that first 6, leaving 2 loops on the hook now. Then you yarn over and you pull through those last 2 loops. And then you want to chain 1. And then going into the same stitch, we're going to repeat what we just did. Yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go into that same stitch and pull up a loop. And again, you're going to yarn over and pull through only 6 of the loops on your hook, leaving the last one on, and then yarn through and pull through the last 2, and then chain 1. We're going to repeat what we just did, these two, into the next chain. So go right into the next chain, you'll yarn over, go into the next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into that same chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into that same chain for a third time. Then you'll yarn over, pull through 6 of the loops, then yarn over, pull through the other 2 and chain 1. And then repeat that one more time in the same stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, then third and final time, yarn over, pull up a loop. Then you'll pull through all 6 loops, and then the final 2, and then chain. And then again, you're going to want to skip 2 stitches. Just a second, let me go through. Yes. You're going to skip 2 chains. So 1, 2, and in this third chain, you're going to work a single crochet. And then you'll chain 1. And then you'll repeat what you just did here again. Skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in this third chain, yarn over, go into that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into that same chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into that same chain for a third time, pull through 6 loops, and then yarn over and pull through those last 2 and chain. Then you're going to do it one more time in the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull up a loop. Then you'll pull through all 6 loops, then you'll pull through the remaining 2 and chain 1. And then you will want to skip 2 again, and supposed to, I guess I missed one somewhere. But you should only have 3 left. That's okay. Oh wait, no, we did only 1 set. We need to do 1 more set in the next. So we're going to have 3 at the end. Okay, so the very next stitch, we're going to repeat what we just did here, and we're going to put 2 of those puff stitches inside this one as well. So pulling through my 6, then my final 2, chain 1, yarn over, go into that same stitch. We're going to work our puff stitch in this one too. Pull through 6, pull through the final 2 and chain 1. Now we have our 3. So we're going to skip 2 like we did before, and in the final chain here, we're going to put a single crochet. And this is what your first row looks like. And that beginning stitch I did with the 5mm, and I didn't do my first row of single crochets. Like I said, that usually, I think it may help make it good at the beginning. So you should have 2 if you did which every 7, and then we'll be ready to start row 2. So to start row 2, get my yarn here. To start row 2, you want to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. And you want to double crochet into the first single crochet of the row. Your chain 3 will count as your double crochet plus your chain 1. So yarn over, go into that first single crochet and do a double crochet. And then you want to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then you want to double crochet into, you want to skip on over all this puff stitch shell here and find your next single crochet, and you want to do a double crochet in the single crochet here, the one that's in between the 2 puff stitches, 2 puff shells. And then you'll chain 1, and then you'll work another double crochet in the same single crochet. You're creating a V-stitch here. So you'll have double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all worked into that same single crochet. And then you'll chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, you're going to skip on past this, and this last single crochet of the row, you're going to be working a double crochet into that very last stitch of the row. And then again, you'll chain 1 and add another double crochet into the same stitch to finish your V-stitch. And this is what your row 2 will look like. You'll have your chain 3 and double crochet worked in the first, chain 5, then you'll do your double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and your single crochet here, chain 5, move over, then you'll do your double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and the last single crochet of the row. And that's for row 2. So for row 3, let me get some of my yarn here. For row 3, you're going to start off by chaining 3 again and turn. Now we're going to be working in the V-stitch that we created last row, and you're going to be working a half of a shell in it. So instead of doing a total of 4, we're only going to be doing 2 puff stitches in this one. So yarn over, go inside the V-stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go in the V-stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go in the V-stitch, pull up a loop. You'll always be doing that 3 times. Yarn over, go in the stitch, pull up a loop. You'll do it 3 times every time you want to make a puff stitch. Then you'll yarn over, pull through only 6 of the loops, and then you'll pull through the final 2 and chain 1. And then you'll repeat that 1 more time. Yarn over, go into the V-stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into the V-stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go in the V-stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through only 6 of the loops, yarn over, pull through the final 2 and chain 1, and that's a half of the shell. Now just want to make sure here, yeah, now you want to do a double crochet worked in the stitch in between, in the space between these 2 and these 2 puff stitches, in this little chain 1 space, you'll want to work a double crochet. So find 2 puff stitches on this side, 2 puff stitches on this side, find that center in between them and work a double crochet in that space, and then chain 1. Now your next V-stitch here, you're going to be working a full puff stitch shell. So you're going to yarn over, go into that V-stitch, and remember you'll do that 3 times. Yarn over, go into the stitch until you have a total of 7 loops on your hook. You'll yarn over, pull through 6, yarn over, pull through 2, and chain 1. That's your first one. You need to do 3 more into the same V-stitch. So yarn over, go into the stitch, do this 3 times, yarn over, pull through 6, pull through 2, and then chain 1. And if you need, you can kind of pull your puff stitches over to give yourself a little bit more room, because you need to fit 2 more puff stitches in there. Yarn over, go into the stitch again, do that 3 times, 7 loops on the hook, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. We need 1 more. 1, 2, 3, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. Now you have your first complete puff shell. So again, you want to find on your row below, your very first row we did our puff stitches, and find that middle chain 1 here where you have 2 puffs on this side, 2 puffs on this side. Find that middle one, and you'll work a double crochet into that stitch, and then don't forget to chain 1 after. Then you'll find your last V-stitch here on the end where we ended the row, and you'll do the same thing that you did here. You'll only work 2 puff stitches on this end. So yarn over, go in that last V-stitch, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1, do that one more time. 1, oh, I'm fighting with my yarn, sorry. 2, 3, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. And that ends, again, see how this pulls down a little bit? It would have helped if I would have remembered to do use my 6mm hook, because it really helps you to remember to chain loosely. I do this with anything that I want square. I always go up one hook size just for the beginning chain to make sure that it's looser. I do this with afghans or anything that's square. So that is row 3. So for row 4, okay, so for row 4, we're going to start off. Let me just give myself some more yarn to start off here, so I won't be pulling it during the row. Okay, so for this row 4, you want to chain 5. We chained 1 at the end of last round, so that's going to count as one of them. So right now I have 1, 2, 3 chains, then 4 and 5. So at the end of this last row, you normally want to chain 1, but just remember to count that as part of the 5 when you turn. Okay, you want to double crochet and chain 1 and double crochet. You want to do your V-stitch like you were doing before, but you're going to be working in the double crochet here, because wherever you put a V-stitch, the next row after that you'll be working your shell into it. So you want it to be, you know, alternating between. You don't want it to go this way. So you want to yarn over, go into this first double crochet here and work your V-stitch. A double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, all in that same stitch. And then you want to do your chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then skip on over to your next double crochet here, and you're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet to do your V-stitch in this one. And then you want to do, to end the row, you'll be chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then you'll double crochet in the top of the chain 3 from last round. So just find 1, 2, 3, find this top, the chain 3 here, and work a double crochet in that stitch. And this is what your row 4 will look like. We started with a chain 5. We worked a V-stitch inside our double crochet. We chained 5. We worked another V-stitch in our double crochet. Then to end the row, you want to only chain 3 and double crochet in the top of the chain 3 from the previous row. So that is row 4. So for row 5, you're going to chain 3 and turn your work. Now we're going to go right into this first V-stitch here, and you're going to work a full puff stitch shell into it. So you're going to yarn over, go into the V-stitch, pull up a loop, then do that 2 more times, yarn over till you have your 7 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1, then yarn over, and you want to go back in here 3 more times with your puff stitches. 3 more puff stitches worked all in the same stitch. So that's 2, 1, 2, 3, and that's 3, and then I'm going to pull my puff stitches over, give myself a bit more yarn here, work my final puff stitch in the V-stitch, 1, 2, 3, pull through 6, pull through 2, chain 1. Got your first puff stitch there. Now again, we're going to be working in that chain space in between the two, in between the 4. So you have 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and the space here in between, you'll want to do a double crochet. Double crochet and chain 1. And then you're going to go right into the next V-stitch and start your next puff stitch shell. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my next puff shell off camera. Okay, just finished it. Did my chain 1. Okay, to finish your row, you want to work a double crochet in the 3rd chain of this chain 5. So you want to count from the bottom. Let me just make sure this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is my 1st chain, and I'll count 1, 2, 3. This is my 3rd chain up, and here is where I'll put my double crochet. So that is what row 5 looks like. You did your chain and then you went right into the V-stitch. So row 6, you want to begin by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3, turn. And then you want to make your V-stitch right at the beginning. And if you look, when you have 2 puff stitches here, puff stitch shells here, remember you're going to want to start making the half ones next. So you'll always begin with a V-stitch here, then a V-stitch here, which will be your full one, and then a V-stitch on the end. My camera going out of focus, homie. So we did our chain 3 at the beginning, which counts as our first double crochet in chain 1, and in the same stitch we'll finish that V-stitch by putting a double crochet. Then you'll want to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you'll skip over the whole puff stitch shell and then go right into that double crochet here and work another V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, worked all into the same stitch. And then you'll repeat because you need to go over this one. So you'll chain 5, and then you'll work your V-stitch in, I don't actually have it marked which stitch. So you want to do it in the 3rd. So 1, 2, 3. So it's basically the right, okay, the 3rd or the 2nd, because this is the double crochet, chain 1. So I'm going to go ahead and work it in the 2nd chain. So in this middle chain, because there's a chain 3 here. Double crochet. So I needed to yarn over. There we go. And then chain 1, and then in that same space, that same chain, work your next double crochet, and now you have your 3 V-stitches again. So you want to be so you want to repeat rows 3 through 6 over and over and over again until you get the desired size of your scarf. I'm going to go ahead and go through a few more rows with you. So let me grab my yarn here. Okay, so when you have your V-stitches here, you'll just chain 3 and turn. And remember, this one is going to be a half one, so you're only going to be working 2 puff stitches in this one. So yarn over, go in the V-stitch, pull up a loop, do that 3 times, pull through all 6, pull through 2, chain 1. Do that one more time, 2, 3, then chain 1. So now you have that. Now remember, when you're doing a V-stitch row, you want to go in between these 2 here and create your next double crochet, because then next row you're going to be working your V-stitches in this double crochet. So you want to work a double crochet in that center of the 4, and then chain 1. Then you'll work your next puff stitch and the next V-stitch. In the center one here, you'll be working all 4 of your puff stitches. Scooting mine over here. So that's 2. This is my 3rd. It can be hard to show it on screen when you're trying to get all your puff stitches. When you're trying to pull through all your puff stitch loops. There we go. Got my 4. Then again, double crochet. And that center of the 4 puff stitches there, and then you have 1 more on the end where you'll be doing your half. So you only do 2. 1, 2, 3. There's my 1. And then you'll work your 2nd to finish the row. Now remember, at the end of this one, I automatically want to chain 1, but remember, you're going to need to chain 5 for your next row. Yes. So just go ahead and chain 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So remember, after you do your half puff stitch shell, then you'll do your chain 5 and turn. And then you'll be working right into this double crochet and putting a V-stitch in there. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same stitch. And then you'll want to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then do another V-stitch in your next double crochet. 1, chain 1, then there's the 2nd. And then at the end of this row, you'll want to chain 3 and then double crochet in the top of the chain 3 at the end of the row. And there you go. And then to remind you, for row 5, again, let me grab some of my yarn here. So for row 5, you'll want to start off by chaining 3, and then you're going to turn and go right and start working in your first V-stitch here, and you're going to be working your full V-stitches. V-stitches. You want to work your full puff stitch shell in these 2 this round. So you'll be working 4 in each V-stitch, and oh, I messed up my puff stitch. So go ahead and work your full puff stitch shell in this one. And then remember, you'll do a double crochet worked in this one here. You'll do double crochet, chain 1, then you work your next puff stitch here, all 4. And then at the end of, when you get done with that, to end the row, you'll double crochet in the 3rd stitch of the beginning 5, which for some reason, yeah, there you go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you'll count from the bottom 1, 2, 3, and then the 3rd stitch is where you'll end the row by putting a double crochet, and that'll be row 5. So after that, for row 6, you'll be repeating your V-stitches again. You'll be starting your 2 V-stitches at the beginning, and then just like you did here, you'll be preparing yourself for the next row here. So feel free to rewind the video and keep going through those rows over and over and over again. I didn't count how many rows total I did for this scarf. I just worked it until I ran out of yarn, and in the end I needed more. So like I said, I would recommend going ahead and getting 2 skeins of whatever color that you want to use. So that is it. That is how you do the Winsome Stitch. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please show support by clicking like on the video, and if you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please don't forget to do that. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching and supporting my channel. Also, you can find me on Facebook. I have a personal business one there where I you know, share lots of patterns and free patterns, not just my own, so it's a good pattern source. I'm also on Pinterest, so check me out. Under the video description, I have all the links to all the social media places that I am, and also the link to the pattern to whatever video that I'm doing. So always check underneath the pattern, and you can use the pictures on the pattern along with the video, and I'm sure that you can make pretty much all my videos no matter what level that you're on. So I would recommend always to give it a try. So that's it. Thank you so very much for watching.